And welcome back to another episode of All of Fabric 5, where today I'm wondering, Trader just turned up just as I started recording. Mate, you sell anything good? No. So, what I've been doing in between episodes is trying to figure out a slightly better design for our nuclear reactor. So this has been running overnight. It's kind of working. I don't think we're actually really making any power at the moment. This is kind of a wasted fuel rod. But what I have been working on is we're going to get these carbon plates. We're going to get these item hatches. And we're going to try a slightly different design. Now, I tested this in creative, and it at least seemed a bit more fuel efficient. I don't know if it produces a lot of steam, but it should be okay. So we can kind of... here we're going to have to rearrange some of these pipes. I guess for now... let's just clear all this out. We can rerun all of this stuff. So what we're going to be doing is getting our carbon plates. Now we're going to want these to be auto-crafted. So if we get ourselves a crafting card, actually that should be fine. I should have one somewhere. And this is just going to be for keeping... Now, I don't think... Yeah, we can only keep one in stock. That's actually okay. And we're going to keep these carbon plates. And actually, we might as well just get them out now. They're going to go into these sections here. And so... Actually, no, this wasn't the design I came up with. Hang on, let me rearrange that again. I tried a couple of different ways, and that way actually didn't seem to work too good. So if we have got the item hatch in the middle, and then in the corners we're going to have these carbon plates, and it seemed to go a bit better if the fuel rod was kind of touching the fuel hatches. Now, I think there's some kind of calculation that happens where heat gets transferred to like the external casing, which is kind of a waste. Really, you want most of the heat from the fuel to be going into your fluid, your coolant, so that it produces steam, because that's how we make power in the first place. So if we check these in here, that will give us this. We do want water in all four of these. I should probably put that in. Now again, fluid's not that color. We're going to have to run item cables, so I don't want to run pipes where we don't need to. That's the item hatch. If we do something like this, I'm going to need some more fluid pipes. But yeah, that really is the advantage of these nuclear reactors over ones in other mods, where if you get the design wrong, you're going to have a bad time because things will explode or you'll wreck things. We could end up losing this fuel rod. I think it has a maximum temperature, and if it exceeds that, it will sort of melt, which just means it gets destroyed. But that's not too bad. If we do something like this, I'm just kind of trying to make it look cool as well. If we do this, so we should have fluid going into all of these. There we go. And the temperature, it did take a while to warm up, but once it got going, it was okay. So once these carbon plates get used up, I'm pretty sure they just disappear. They don't turn into like a depleted carbon plate. And we can kind of look at that in the reactor, and it doesn't really say that anything happens to them. Yeah. Not sure. But if we go for that, we're starting to get deuterium coming out again, so we definitely want to pipe that out. But we also want to be running our item pipes for inserting and extracting those carbon plates. Okay, so I think it's still warming up. We're sitting at 5.2% efficient, and we're just about to utilize or finish off this uranium fuel rod. So I ended up chucking a second pipe into this for like the extraction and insertion because, well, it was causing issues. And you know what? This would probably look cooler. Oh, we don't even insert these carbon large plates yet. Maybe this would look cooler like this. And then we don't connect that. Yeah, maybe. So this will get absorbed soon. Well, not absorbed. This will get depleted shortly. And then we're ending up with our depleted uranium fuel rods. Now, similar to like nuclear craft, you can reprocess these. So we can centrifuge these into this uranium-238 and a bit of plutonium and a little bit of 235. We can use this uranium-238 to make LE uranium tiny dust, which makes these LE uranium fuel rods, which has a bit more energy. So it stores the same amount. Total energy stored is slightly more. Or we can use that plutonium. Now, do we get plutonium from processing this? Oh, we've got the new uranium fuel rod too. We get a little bit of plutonium. Oh, we get a decent amount of plutonium. And then we can make LE MOX. We can make HE MOX. So depending on if we want to use mostly plutonium, or if we've got, say if we've got way too much uranium-238 tiny dust or dust sitting around, we could start using this method to use more of it to make this HE MOX, which is like high energy MOX. I think there's low energy MOX as well. So these ones store more energy again. Well, the HE uranium stores more than the LE uranium. And what you're going to find is the temperature is going to be different. Now we can of course turn these into these bigger ones. I don't know if these make more heat. It would make sense if they did, or maybe they just last longer. I'm not sure. Probably they make more heat. So while this design is, it's 5% efficient. I'm sure this was, maybe it wasn't 20%. I don't know why I thought it was. I'll have to go back and check. About 5% efficient. That doesn't seem great. So for every potential 13,000 EU a tick, we're actually only making 650. Now this is still going up over time. I mean, it is going up. It's just because I'm looking at it that's going up. Why is it different now? It's going down. I don't know why it goes down. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, ideally we probably want to make like an additional nuclear reactor, and then be making like these LE uranium fuel rods or maybe the HE uranium fuel rods and get them processed in another one. And then these depleted ones, they make a bit more uranium, a bit more plutonium. I assume you eventually end up using all the uranium. Like we get 53 from this one. You only get 48 from that one. You get different ratios depending on what sort of type of fuel we've made. Yeah, I don't think it's infinite. But yeah, I don't know. Depleted HE MOX makes uranium and plutonium. And HE MOX is made with plutonium and uranium. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Huh. I assume you end up like using up the uranium over time. But yeah, getting like a chain of reactors going would be pretty cool. Now what I want to try and do is just to see if this one reactor could power all of our things. I'm going to disconnect this guy, or these guys, and disconnect these, although they'll stop working when this stops running. And we'll disconnect the diesel generator, and we'll see, could this one reactor power our base? Because we're not using all of the steam. Let's take that. Like, we've still got most of the steam still sitting in here. So I wonder, could one reactor and one large steam turbine power our entire base just off uranium? Because that'd be neat, and then we could fit more nuclear reactors in here. And it seems like, unfortunately, the answer is maybe? Okay, but just. I think we're just making enough power from this nuclear reactor, and the efficiency's gone up. So I thought I remember it being like 30%, and yeah, 30.5%, which I think is pretty good. I don't know what else you would do to make it more efficient. I'm not entirely sure, but this seems to be working, so that's kind of cool. Yeah, 30.6%. It's 10 times as efficient as it was, so or almost a little bit more. Yeah, I don't know why it goes up and down. I guess maybe there's some sort of thing where once this reaches a certain temperature, it becomes less efficient or something. 31% is still going up. Now, we have to be a little bit careful of it getting too hot. Although, no, uranium fuel rods don't have a maximum temperature. It's these things, I think. Oh, max temperature 2500. And what about these ones? Have a max temperature of 3000. So we're getting up to... No, we're not even at 1000. And these are sitting at 500. So we could go hotter than this. So maybe this would be an okay design. 31.4. Maybe this would be an okay design for other fuel rods as well. We could try chucking a double fuel rod in here. That's not much of a... it's not too bad of a recipe for an upgrade. Maybe. Maybe I didn't mean to add all of that. But yeah, cool. So we've done that. We now have the nuclear reactor running. It does mean we are now producing deuterium. We've got 82 buckets of it. What's next on the quest list? Now, obviously, I do want to make more reactors, and actually we should hook this back into here, and we can utilize the diesel generation as well for producing some power. Because I think just the reactor by itself is a little bit not quite enough. Not quite enough. It'd be good to be able to prioritize this over the diesel. I guess it doesn't matter. It'll be okay. But yeah, looking at the next quests, I guess it's like making the nukes or making mixed iridium ingots. Now we have plenty of iridium now. This wouldn't be very difficult. That's getting to the quantum circuits, which we have not looked at. We need helium-3. We need a bit of iridium. We need tritium. Okay, cool. So we know we need this, and this comes from hydrogen. Okay, hydrogen and a centrifuge. Right. Don't get much. Or we can turn heavy water into tritium, and we make heavy water... just making water in a centrifuge. Okay. So maybe we'll whip up a second nuclear reactor, get it to process the byproduct of this nuclear reactor, and then use that for making tritium. That could be kind of cool. I don't know quite what I want to do here just yet. This is a little bit messy, even like we could plonk another reactor here. Yeah, I'm not sure. I've also started going through and upgrading some of our machines to HV. Like we're always running out of diodes. Now this is like a HV tier assembler with some of these highly advanced upgrades. So when we need a lot of diodes, this thing goes quite fast. I almost wonder if we should swap this out for the bigger barrel. Like an aluminum barrel. Ah, we're out of wood. Okay. But yeah, I think next steps, let's get another reactor going and start processing the byproducts of this one. And that should be kind of sweet. Well, all right. We have a second reactor up and ready to go. And I've just been mucking around figuring out how we make heavy water. So my initial plan for getting heavy water had been setting up a centrifuge and just I can turn 1 bucket of water into 20 millibuckets of heavy water. And I kind of set this up and had it running and it was pretty slow. But the chemical reactor, using a bit of this deuterium that we're making in our reactor already and oxygen, we make heavy water. Now, I might be chewing through my deuterium pretty quick, actually. We do have 1,600 buckets, just because this has been running for quite a while. Like we have 51 depleted uranium fuel rods. So this might not be the best idea. I've kind of got this tank set up to hold, well, it's holding about, it's going to hold 4,000 buckets of heavy water. But, so 2 buckets of deuterium becomes 3 buckets of heavy water. Yeah. Hopefully we're not using deuterium for anything too soon. We probably are going to want it for nukes, aren't we? We'll see how we go. We can always, of course, fire another reactor to make some more deuterium that we don't put into this. And that might be a good idea. But what I'm planning on using this heavy water for is using it as the coolant for this reactor. And that's going to get us that tritium, because heavy water turns into tritium. Now, oh, interesting. So high pressure heavy water. Oh, has a 12.5% consumption chance, but a 12.5% production chance. Interesting. Neutron absorption. Now, I think this can be used for cooling, right? Heat conduction. Like, does this does turn into steam? Wait, does this turn into steam? Interesting. So we have heavy water steam being produced. Well, we did. I think that heavy water must cool stuff quicker, so we're actually not using that anymore. Interesting. Can we? These are going to be a pain, actually. I don't think we're going to be able to get these to go back into this reactor via the auto crafting. But yeah, the fact that that's heavy water steam, and we are making tritium, right? We do have a little bit of tritium. But because this is heavy water steam, it can't share the same pipe. Potentially we could have another fluid hatch, but we'll probably be better extending this out, sharing a wall, and making another large steam turbine. Does this work? Oh, that works. That's producing power. Cool. All right, so you can just use heavy pressure steam, or heavy water steam. And then if we disconnect this so that our diesel generators don't power anything. These are just low because I charged the gravity chest plate. You're full of steam, you're full of power, you're full of power. So now everything is running off of the nuclear power. And we're not using our diesel generators for anything. We might leave that like that. And then this is kind of emergency power. I'm imagining if I ever come back and I find like the whole system's offline, we can just break that, connect it in, and then this will have diesel sitting in it. It'll be ready to go, and then the rest of the time we'll just run on nuclear power. That's kind of neat. And the steam level seems to be kind of holding pretty steady. If we have a look in here, temperature's a lot higher, probably because it's one of those quad ones. Fuel efficiency 9.9. Yeah, not great. Not great, but that's interesting. Cool, and then we could switch over to quad fuel rods and fully water around this because apparently that's more efficient. But one thing we never actually did get around to was the depleted uranium fuel rods, but I think we'll do that next time. We now have tritium and deuterium, though I think deuterium's constantly getting used at the moment, just until we get a backstuff of heavy water, which is getting depleted much faster than we're using it. That's an issue. That is an issue. Let's quickly get a quad, another quad one of these. All right, so to become that one, which becomes another quad fuel rod. Obviously still needs to be automated. And then what I want to do over here is let's switch over. Oh, I didn't want to do that. Actually, I did want to do that. Let's switch over to fully water. We've got some more fluid hatches. Plonk them down here. All right, this is running. The temperature, yep, that's now producing stuff, but we want to swap out this uranium fuel rod for this one. It should give us a lot more temperature. Yes. It should mean that all of this water should start producing stuff. Our efficiency is pretty low. Things might even out over time as the temperature kind of equalizes. Maybe. And then what is happening with our heavy water? We're not producing enough. We're chewing through that heavy water way too fast to keep this reactor running. That's unfortunate. Okay, so we haven't quite got our ratios right. That's a shame. But more reactors, more power, more steam, with some tricky infrastructure stuff coming up soon. But cool. Anyway, it's been ClassicDuff. Thanks for watching. We'll come back next time for some more All of Fabric 5. See ya.